there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to figure out a better way. And if you did something wrong, you try to figure out how to right it.
Thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. On this week's episode, we talk about the story of an individual who has a passion for NASCAR and has an inspiring story to share with us. I would like to welcome Will Spencer.
Right.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me, Elvis.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you agreeing to do this.
Yeah. It's a great opportunity.
I want to start off by congratulating you. You and your wife, Christy, on being in business for over 40 years now.
Yes, sir.
You are in your 20s when you started this business.
I was 23.
Mm-hmm. I mean, most people go to college, work for somebody else, but you wanted to do your own thing, make your own path, and
yeah,
it worked out pretty well.
Well, you try,
Mm-hmm.
you live and you learn.
Mm-hmm.
You live and you learn.
And being in business for yourself, I mean, it's not easy. It's not a typical 5-day endeavor, but it's a commitment of 7 days. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's really 828 is what I call it. So, I was very fortunate when I started my business in '83, or I had a dream to, and I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. I just knew I wanted to do something, and I'd been working prior to that. Got my first job when I was 13 and a half. Got a worker's permit. I could work like 15 hours a week. Block and a half from here at the Joe's Fine Foods. It was the big discount soul food store. And I was a bag boy. And that was to basically buy fuel for a motorcycle. So my mother would hold the gasoline over me, so I figured I'd go buy my own gasoline. So, but I did that. I had great work ethics taught to me by my father. I did construction. I did Christmas trees. I worked in a service station. I worked at Adele Knits in a cotton mill in the 10th, 11th, 12th grade down on Northwest Boulevard. I went to work for Piedmont Airlines. Thought that down here at Smith Reynolds Airport, and lost some good friends of mine in a plane crash in 1979, and thought I'd take a break away from planes. But basically, in '79, late in '78, my brother had gone to Carolina, my sister had gone to state, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I had taken a class at the Career Center here in Winston for radio and TV broadcasting, and didn't really do anything with it. And I saw an ad one day for selling cars at a Chevrolet dealership called Roger West. And I went, said, "Can you sell yourself to Roger West? If you can, sales position open." I went and applied for it, and I got it. I was 19 years old. So I took a gap year because I didn't know what I was going to do or what I wanted to do. And I took that gap year after I got out of Rebels High School, and I'm still on it.
Yeah.
I'll say I am.
Talked a little bit about the Winston Cup Museum. You were involved in it for over 2 decades, embarking on a new chapter now. How does transitioning from something that became second nature impact you?
Well, some people have heard me say it before. I'm a beekeeper, and it's a great movie, by the way. But that was my job, was to protect the hive, protect the history. And I think history is very hard to create, and history preserved is even harder. And when you do something for 20 years in the industry for RJ Rebels with all their different Winston brands that we did in the Camel brands, and then you preserve that legacy for 20 years, and you close, the museum after 20 years. It's 40 years. It was 2/3 of my life.
Yeah.
It was never. It was a gift to the city, and it was thank you to Reynolds for giving me 40 years of what I've done. You know, with what we did for Reynolds for over 20 years, we still do work for Reynolds today, which I'm very proud of after 40 years. It's, you know, it's a change. It's a change of, the hive's kind of gone. So you got to figure out, you know, one door closes and another one will open.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you've done a pretty good job about preserving history. I mean, this building, you know, looks.
Yeah, the Robert Hall original building was built in 1925. There's 12,000 plus square feet here. Indoor, outdoor, it's 20,000 square feet. Have Radar Brewery, Robert Hall, in Robert Hall, and we have the Huntley House, which is named after my great grandfather, which was B.F. Huntley, that became Thomasville Furniture Company. And a half a block from here, he had a 1 million square foot factory. And when he died in 1925, was the largest furniture manufacturer in the eastern United States and the largest bedroom manufacturer in the United States. And he came from Monroe County. He lost his left arm in a cotton gin when he was 19. Pulled it off, got it caught, pulled it off. That was probably around 1888. He made his way to High Point around 1890. My grandmother told the story that he was laying in the back room, and they said, poor Benjamin will have to look after him the rest of his life. And basically his father told him he couldn't work on the farm. He couldn't do. So he made it to High Point from Monroe County and became a clerk, made it to Winston, and as far as we know and what I have records, his first furniture factory that he had that he became involved in was at Old Salem. I still have the original deed, and it's kind of funny. When I found it, I couldn't really figure it out, and Heather Fernback, one of the historians here in Winston, had asked me about, she was doing some history study on Mr. Huntley and his house on Country Club, and she said, did you know your great-grandfather had a furniture factory in Old Salem? And I said, it's funny you say that. I found this deed, but I didn't know what it was for. And I asked my mother, and she said, oh, that was where he eventually made the coffins, because he had it Trade and Fifth, Huntley Hill, Stockton. It was the largest in the early 1900s. It was the largest department store in the state of North Carolina. And he was in business with Mr. Hill and Mr. Stockton. So it was Huntley Hill, Stockton. And they had a funeral home or parlor in the back. And so you could get anything. It was from groceries to the coffin. Whatever you needed. Whatever you needed. So, yeah, it's history. The Huntley House is well preserved. A lot of things. 7 generations of my family, both sides. We have the event space we call Capone's, where we're sitting. We have an Al Capone bar from it was from Belmont, Michigan, that I found back in 2013. We have the vault where Geraldo Herrera never looked downstairs, which is a great event space, and the garden outside. So you can rent one, both, or all three. You know, so it's very flexible space.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a lot of cool stuff in here.
Yeah,
It's very cool.
Thank you.
And I mean, having lived your dreams and accomplishing what you want to accomplish, what advice would you offer to someone who is aspiring to follow their dreams or their goals?
Baldwin Properties, your trusted partner in commercial real estate sales, leasing, and property management in the Triad area, making a difference for almost a century.
You know, I think when I got out of high school and went to work for Piedmont, I knew, and then I was in the car business, and I learned a lot. I think understanding every walk of life, and never judging a book by its cover. I think that's where a lot of people judge a book by its cover. It hurts you if you do that, because I think the equality is so important. And I learned a lot being in the car business, because you met every walk of life. I mean, from a tobacco farmer, to a corporate executive,
Yeah.
to a restaurant owner. So those parts of what you learn and how you learn to communicate with people, usually in the first 15 or 20 seconds, you kind of know who that person is,
Yeah.
and you get some kind of insight of the direction. But I knew it when I left Modern and I came to Liberty Street. I knew that I didn't ever want to work for anybody except for myself, and I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and not do what someone else wanted me to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was definitely a free agent. So I was able to start JKS, and then do all these other great, wonderful things, from being part of NASCAR and the ARCA series, and with Ed Barrier. We ran 299 races together. So not only did I get to support the series sponsorship at all the racetracks in Cup or drag or racing, I got to participate in those. So that was a really neat deal.
That's pretty cool.
So I was wearing many hats.
And I'm trying to learn how to do better at that, because I used to work at the bank, and I'm trying to do real estate now, do this podcast.
Right.
So try to just follow things and see where they take me.
Well, I'll ask you a question. Do you like working for yourself better than you like working for somebody else,
Yeah.
right?
A lot better.
Yeah.
A lot
And I think that's where, you look at a lot of things that go on in life. There are fewer and fewer entrepreneurs and fewer creators. And what you find out, or what you learn from that, is that, and it's part of the industry of what it is. People like to take other people's ideas and be successful with it. It's hard or other other things that have been preserved or whatever have been dormant. There are a lot of people in the world, but there are not a lot of people that create. There's the few, like if you take a Elon Musk or somebody that really goes after it, in every aspect. And that's a big job. People in nature love to see people fail. And I always say, well, I'm failing 49% of the time, because if I'm winning 51% of the time, I'm getting the checkered flag, because you can't win all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no way.
Yeah.
So luckily I wasn't a race fan. I was a competitor and a businessman. So if I had been a race fan, I don't think that I could have achieved what I did with Reynolds, and what I did 13 years later with Nextel Sprint and Monster a couple of years. And we still do work for NASCAR every day. We do commercials and stuff, and I'm really blessed. And you have what I call the 7 year. So I'm 40 years in, and my 7th year, I guess, something of that sort. You reinvent yourself every 7 for 3, and then you go hard for 4, and then you reinvent yourself again, because if you don't change, you go away.
Yeah. And previous interview that you did, you mentioned that good things come out of bad situations. How can someone maintain a mindset to push through challenging times and believe that things will get better?
You learn from your mistakes. I guess that's self-willed in you, that if you get knocked down, maybe by me having an older brother and his friends being older, whatever, when you're a kid, you get knocked down, you get back up. You want to, even though you're getting beat up by your brother that's 8 years older than you still want to get up and
Yeah.
have try to win the war. But I think just like with COVID and what happened there, and it really kind of sticks for me. I'm coming up on my 64th birthday, the 27th of March, and 2020, on my 60th birthday, that was when COVID was officially COVID. They certified that it was COVID, and I made a lot of hard decisions. We had been through the 3-year reinventing ourselves. 2020 looked really good. There were a lot of things getting ready to happen for 21 because you're always 18 months out, and then we're all locked up. And I felt pretty beat down, not knowing exactly what to do. I don't think anybody knew what to do. And I made those decisions to bring the office part and the graphics part, the administration part back to Winston, and retool Welcome, work with Bobby Cole. I call him Ricky Bobby at Think PLC, which is a great guy. And he does programming for automation, builds automation, and he's got a great company. And my guys, the JKS people and the Think PLC people work together every day on projects. I talked to Bobby on Saturday. He's got 911s and I've got 911s. So I think it's preserving and trying to figure out, I guess, you had asked me what, I guess, not so much preservation, but being able to pick yourself up and be consistent. It's just you can't let it bother you. You just have to. If you worry about what everybody else is doing, you're worried about. It's as my grandmother would say, it's water over the dam or it's spilt milk. There's nothing you can do about it. You just have to figure out a better way. If you did something wrong, you have to figure out a better way. And if you did something wrong, you try to figure out how to right it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even in real estate, there was maybe about a month ago, I was talking to this business owner who was looking to sell something, and someone else got it over me. But I reached out to him and I was like, hey, just wanted to see how you were doing. Wanted to get some feedback from you. So he was like, yeah, let's go out to lunch. And then he was like, he's like, this is what they did, this is what you did, and this is why I chose them. So try to improve and do better next time when that chance comes around for somebody else. Steering a little bit away from that, you've ventured into real estate, owning a couple properties, industrial building. What made you get into it?
It's like when I started JKS, I knew in '84 I'd rented the building. I knew the last thing I wanted to do was work in a building, not own it, then it gets sold, and then I didn't have anywhere to work from, because you establish yourself, you establish yourself, and people know where you are. But it's hard to move. I mean, when we moved that part of JKS back in 20, it was hard to do, but it was the right thing to do. But I think the total investment return is, if you're paying rent, you're paying someone else your hard work.
Yeah.
So you might as well, the interest, it depends on what the interest rates are and that kind of stuff. And I think, like this building here, we call it Robert Hall. I named it after Bob McCormick. He had a machine shop here. We lost him in about 2002. And I got the building from his estate. And when I started, it was one thing he told me. He said, Will, you can stay at home and be rested. So if you're going to come to work and be tired, you better be making money. So I always remembered that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's, yeah. Well, I wanted to thank you for your words of wisdom, for sharing your story with us. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me. And yeah, we'll have to get together on NASCAR and a few things.
Yes,
and
sir.
get you some people that I think you'd like to talk to.
Yes, sir.
But no, it's, I'll say this, it's a challenge every day. It's kind of like Forrest Gump. The great thing about being an entrepreneur is life's like a box of chocolates. You don't know every day what you're going to get. And that's what's kept me going for 40 years. I mean, before we came and met, I was hunting a sewer line in a building trying to figure out where it was, so I didn't have to, pay a sewer tap, because I want to add some bathrooms to it. So, yeah, you never know what you're going to get. So it works out.
It's true. I see it every day, literally.
So
going to the office pretty early, and then some days won't be much to do, and then some days there's not enough time in the day for me to get all this stuff done.
Yeah, it is. Well, thank you for having me. And as I told you when we talked earlier, I'd said one of the hardest things when I came back to Winston after being gone here for 10 years with a lot of the business and built the welcome facility, and now we use both facilities.
Mhm.
We came back. It's hard when you leave somewhere and you come back, you kind of feel like a stranger in your own town.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, well, not a friend, but someone we both know named Elvis sang that song. I had to add that to it, but yeah. But anyway, thank you for having me, and look forward to doing this again.
Thank you. Likewise. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
I want to thank everyone for tuning in for your support, and we'll see you next time.